Quick question for you. When something scares you, what do you do? Do you avoid it? Wait for the fear to go away? Or do you do it anyway, even while you're terrified? Comedian Jim Carrey answered that question in a pretty extreme way. By age 12, his family was homeless. They lived in a van. He worked night shifts at a factory just to help pay bills. But years later, he became one of the highest-paid actors in the world. And even then, he says something surprising. He says the fame and the money weren't the answer. So in this video, we're going to learn 4 real lessons from Jim Carrey's own words. Lessons about fear, failure, and what actually makes a life feel meaningful. And along the way, we'll pick up some useful English vocabulary too. Words like visualization, authentic, and fulfillment. Don't worry, I'll explain each one clearly, with examples. So, stay with me. Let's find out what Jim Carrey learned the hard way. Let's start with the basics. Who is Jim Carrey? He was born in Canada, in a small town called Newmarket, Ontario. As a kid, he loved making people laugh. He used to perform funny faces and voices for his family. But his childhood wasn't easy. When Jim was 12 years old, his father lost his job. The family lost their house too. For a while, they lived in a van. Jim worked long shifts at a factory just to help pay the bills. Later, Jim moved to Hollywood to chase his dream, comedy. It wasn't easy at first. He was broke. He struggled for years. Then, everything changed. He starred in movies like Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber. He became one of the biggest comedy stars in the world. At one point, he was even the highest-paid actor in Hollywood. So, a kid who once lived in a van became a global superstar. But here's the interesting part. Jim Carrey doesn't just talk about fame and success. He talks about fear, failure, and finding real happiness. That's what makes his story so useful for us. Lesson 1. Visualize what you want. Here's a quick vocabulary word before we start. Visualization means picturing something in your mind. So clearly it feels almost real, like closing your eyes and imagining your goal, as if it already happened. Now, let's go back to the 1990s. Jim Carrey was broke. He had no fame, no big movie roles, just a dream. But every night, he would drive up into the hills above Los Angeles. He'd sit there alone, looking at the city lights. And he would imagine his future, a future where he was successful, where directors wanted to work with him, where he had everything he wanted. Then he did something bold. He wrote himself a check for $10 million. Not a real check with real money, just a piece of paper. He wrote, "For acting services rendered," and he dated it, Thanksgiving, 1995. He kept that check in his wallet for years, even when he had no money at all. And here's the incredible part. Right before Thanksgiving 1995, Jim Carrey found out he would be paid $10 million for the movie Dumb and Dumber, the exact amount, the exact date. Now, does this mean if you just imagine something, it will magically happen? Not exactly. Jim Carrey worked for years before that moment, performing, failing, trying again. Visualization didn't replace the hard work. It gave him a clear goal to work toward, even when things were difficult. So the lesson here isn't just dream and wait. It's this: know exactly what you want, picture it clearly, and keep working toward it, even before you have any proof it's possible. Lesson 2. Failure teaches you what matters. Here's a story Jim Carrey told during a commencement speech in 2014. It's about his father. His father loved comedy. He was actually very funny, maybe funny enough to make a career out of it. But he didn't take that risk. Instead, he chose the safe path. He became an accountant. For years, that seemed like the smart decision. Stable job, steady income, no risk. But then, when Jim's father was 51 years old, he lost that job anyway. Jim Carrey called this moment the real wow, the kick in the guts. Because his father did everything right, he chose safety over passion, what we can call practicality. That just means picking the safe, useful option instead of the one you actually want. And even then, he still lost everything. That moment changed how Jim Carrey saw his own life. He realized something important. Safety is never guaranteed, not even when you play it safe. So if failure is always possible, you might as well fail at something you actually love. In his own words, he said it simply, "You can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love." That's the lesson here. Failure doesn't just hurt, it also teaches. It can show you what you should have been chasing all along. Lesson 3. Success isn't the destination. By this point in his life, Jim Carrey had everything most people dream of: fame, money, movies that made millions. He was, at one point, the highest paid actor in Hollywood. But here's what he actually said about it. He said everybody should get rich and famous, do everything they ever dreamed of, so they can see that it's not the answer. Think about that for a second. He's not saying money is bad or fame is bad. He's saying something more specific. Reaching those goals doesn't automatically bring you fulfillment. That's a deep feeling of satisfaction, a feeling that your life truly matters to you. You can have success on the outside and still feel empty on the inside. Jim Carrey has also spoken openly over the years about struggling with periods of low mood and depression, even during the biggest years of his career. That's an important detail. It shows that outward success and inner peace don't always arrive together. So, what's the lesson? Chasing success is not wrong, but if you think a job title, a paycheck or fame will fix everything inside you, you might be disappointed even if you get it. Real fulfillment usually comes from somewhere else. Your relationships, your values, your sense of purpose. Lesson 4. Let go of fear and the need for approval. Back in that same 2014 commencement speech, Jim Carrey said something simple but powerful. Fear is going to be a player in your life, but you get to decide how much. Think about that. He's not saying fear disappears. He's saying you get to choose how much control it has over you. Early in his career, Jim Carrey could have played it safe. He could have picked normal comedy, safe jokes, safe characters. Instead, he did the opposite. Wild facial expressions, strange voices, physical comedy that some people thought was just too much. It was a risk. People could have laughed at him instead of with him. But that risk is exactly what made him stand out. He didn't perform to please everyone. He performed as his true self, what we can call being authentic. That means being real instead of pretending to be someone else just to be accepted. Jim Carrey also talked about this idea of the need for acceptance. He warned that always trying to be accepted by others can actually make you invisible because you stop showing people who you really are. So the lesson here is this: fear and the need for approval will always be there, a little bit. But you get to decide how much space they take up, and often the moments where you feel the most exposed are the same moments where people finally see the real you. Recap plus vocabulary review. Okay, let's quickly recap what we learned today. Lesson 1. Use visualization. Picture your goal clearly and keep working toward it, just like Jim Carrey did with his $10 million check. Lesson 2. Failure teaches you what matters. Even the safe, practical choice doesn't guarantee security, so you might as well try the thing you actually love. Lesson 3. Success isn't the destination. Fame and money don't automatically bring fulfillment. That has to come from somewhere deeper. Lesson 4. Let go of fear and the need for approval. Fear will always be there a little, but you decide how much power it has over you. Now, let's review our 4 new words. But this time, let's use each one in a real sentence. Try saying these out loud with me. Visualization. For example, before my job interview, I used visualization to picture myself answering every question with confidence. Practicality. For example, she wanted to study art, but practicality made her choose a business degree instead. Fulfillment. For example, he has a high salary, but he still doesn't feel any real fulfillment in his job. Authentic. For example, I stopped trying to impress everyone and just started being more authentic instead. Now it's your turn. Pause the video for a second and try making your own sentence with one of these words about your own life. Maybe something like, I used to choose practicality, but now I want to. So, out of all 4 lessons, which one hit you the hardest? Was it visualization, picturing your goal so clearly it pulls you toward it? Was it learning that failure can actually point you toward what matters? Was it realizing that success alone won't bring fulfillment? Or was it the idea of letting go of fear and just being authentic? Drop a comment below and tell me which lesson resonated with you the most. And if you're practicing your English, try writing a full sentence using one of today's 4 vocabulary words. It's great writing practice, and I'll be reading through the comments myself. If this video helped you today, hit like and subscribe for more videos like this. Real lessons from real people with useful English along the way. Thanks for watching, and remember, fear is going to be a player in your life, but you get to decide how much. See you in the next one.